Now, interestingly enough, that ties in because if the LCS was a long-running American, let's be real, it'd be a sitcom, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be a drama or a thriller on HBO with incredibly nuanced characters and maybe Ian McShane playing someone. It would be a stupid show like Friends with a shitty character like, Chandler Bing just making pithy but somewhat inane attempts at like, humour, puns, sexual entendre. There could be a lot of that shite going on there, Maybe you could have a moody, emotional character who draws all the, set attention in the room to him. Jack, maybe. I don't know who. Listen, I'm just throwing names out there. I'm spitballing. This is like one of those crazy Hollywood, pitch sessions in the 80s, isn't it? I'm on cocaine. Who isn't? So let's just see what we can bang out here. But what I would say is this: if this indeed was a long-running show, like your aforementioned Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Smallville, Friends, those sorts of shows, it'd be a bit shocking, wouldn't it, if you got to, say, in this case, Monty, season 11 going into season 12, maybe. What would happen if you were in season 11 or 12 and someone finally figured out the biggest arsehole villain character from season 1? Turns out he's an arsehole and a villain, Monty. You're not going to fucking believe this. And the sort of dunce-like character, sort of like Joy from Friends, who didn't seem to know anything in season 1, was just going around going, "What? Hey, man, what? How are you doing?" What if he was the guy who attempted to expose everyone? And the whole time, everyone in season 11 and 12 was like, oh my God, he's a villain. Can you even believe it? And this genius guy's told us. And the whole time, Monty, me and you were in this show, and we'd been saying from season 1, that guy seems like a massive dickhead. In fact, all the stuff we're all watching on camera, like this reality series, you're all going to retcon this and in 10 years come out and go, "Well, I actually disavow that individual, and I don't think that's acceptable behaviour." And Riot Games might even go, "Remember that guy we saw on camera doing all that stuff about 10 years ago? Probably should look into that. It's a bit fucked up, isn't it?" And then another guy in the Riot office goes, yeah, get ahead of the problem 10 years in. Yes, I love the way this guy's thinking. See? Everyone says nothing's changed. Who's the thinker? Exactly. So you get the point. You get where I'm going with this. Apparently, Monty, you weren't going to believe this, mate. Reginald turned out to be an arsehole.
What?
Doublelift of all people. Conveniently, when it appears Doublelift's girlfriend, the former president of TSM, is no longer working at TSM. Wow. Another high school drama has come forth again. Apparently, I got it wrong, mate. It's One Tree Hill or the OC, this one, isn't it? It's not even something like Smallville. It's just some garbage high school drama. I was wrong.
I just can't believe how bad the script writing is in the LCS, because when you want a twist, if you want a twist to like show that somebody has actually been evil the whole time, you don't fucking film it for years and let everybody see it and publish it yourself on the internet, and then all of a sudden one guy who's been there the whole time, who could have said this at any point in time in his entire career, says, "Oh, maybe there's something going on here." Shocking revelation for absolutely everybody. And how convenient, like you say, that it just happens that it's when Lena is leaving the company simultaneously. And then Riot could have investigated this at literally any point in time over the past 10 years. The information has been made public. Wasn't Acadian on the crackdown saying that Reginald ruined his confidence? And guess what, guys? I know from my behind the scenes sources that it triggered a bunch of investigations. Like, you've seen it. You've seen it within the articles that have come out that the Players Association is now getting involved with it. You see that Riot is getting involved with it. You see that TSM is actually having their own investigation of this issue. And it's like, why now? Why now? And also, for all of you motherfuckers who have spent years trying to gaslight us that this thing hasn't been happening the whole time, or that he wasn't a giant asshole, or any of the other, jealous. Any of the other things that you try and gaslight us over that we know are true, maybe instead of arguing with us because you're a fan, fucking listen for once. Use your brain and your eyes to look at the evidence.
Yeah, by the way, two things. One, the mic is popping a little bit. And then two, the other thing is, here's what I would say in this scenario, right? This is the annoying part. Like Monty says, this was already known. As I even said, they're even referencing, Doublelift himself as evidence, brought up the fucking Game Cribs thing. Game Cribs isn't like some secret Zabruder film that was sourced from underground sources with potentially missing frames, and we're trying to figure out the Kennedy assassination. We're talking about the fucking reality TV show that's been hosted for 10 years now. No, it's not 10 years, it's about 9 years. And we all saw it at the time. We've all even hilariously referred back. We even did a bloody episode 2 years ago where we watched an episode of Game Cribs or something, didn't we? I'm sure we did that. Where it's like the one where like the Dyrus was there when fucking Chaos got fired or whatever. You all remember that emotional moment where he cried and then said, well, the joke is he did an impromptu at AMA, and he goes, ask me anything. But he didn't mean it that way. We all know it just seemed a bit awkward, So anyway, here's what I would say. This is the part I can't handle. If as you described it had happened, it would make logical sense. Imagine, right? Reginald's a guy who just had the perceived image of an arsehole. It's implied by the fact that he's a bit snippy with people on Twitter, or, with the press, he'll sometimes have some drama. Me, Travis, people over the years, right? If then Doublelift was like, and you're not going to believe it, guys, there was a secret documentary that was filmed, but it was so horrible that Reginald and Riot had it canned, and it was hidden all these years. But Lena, of course, she had access, didn't she, in the TSM vaults? So I'm going to present to you new footage you've never seen before, and then he pulls up those 2 clips. There's the special one, he's crying, he berated him at LCS. There's the one where Wild Turtle's about this close to his fucking face, and he's just going, it's all Wild Turtle's fault, isn't it? Wild Turtle's a fucking idiot. You're saying he's not an idiot, right? Imagine that just came out now. Listen, I'm with you. That would be such an insane plot twist. That's like, because then it would be like, maybe you can judge a book by its cover. Wow, ooh, and what does it say? No, we saw this footage 10 years ago. This is mental now. Guys, this footage came out like at the beginning of season 3 in LCS in this scenario, which was the first LCS. It was in 2013 this footage came out. This is ridiculous. And then also, like, what I found really shocking was because obviously Doublelift was implying it's an open secret, as we've also alluded to. Like, that's why people like me and Richard also knew about Riot, for example. These are open secrets among the right people. There's the part that I found the craziest, is when Reginald's approach to get it, like, dismissed was he just had, I speculate, an endless stream of, like, almost like there's a show we have in the UK called This Is Your Life, where, like, you sit down and you don't know you're going to be there, and they introduce you, like, in so-and-so, Monte Cristo, this is your life. And then they'll have, like, who am I? You probably recognize my voice because I was telling you, Monty, you naughty little boy. That's right. I was your high school teacher in chemistry education. And someone, right? It was like that. It was like, and I am the odd one. You might remember me from season 3 of the LCS. Reginald never said anything mean to me. Anyway, just moseying on by. Reginald, hell of a guy. And then it was like, it's just a stream of people coming out. And what I don't get about it is, right, as far as I can tell, and this is going to seem like a mildly insensitive comment, because if we're going to actually talk around this topic and make jokes, sometimes it's going to happen. So all I'm going to say is this: the equivalent, as far as I can tell logically, that Reginald was going for is if someone had said, hypothetically, imagine Reginald had a wife and someone had accused him of beating his wife, and so every other member of his life came out and said, well, I've never been beaten by Reginald, so that just seems, you make your own mind up. One testimony against, like, I don't get what the connection is. Why would the odd one saying it's fine make, like, the story, the things we saw on camera not have happened? It was a weird scenario, right? And,
people are going to take things differently. And, a lot of people have come out, including Dyrus, and said, like, it was fine. It was a fine experience, even though this stuff was on camera. And that, Dyrus is in charge of his own life. He's perfectly willing, we have to just take him at face value about what he thinks. But the fact is, and this article exposed it, and I can corroborate it from people who have talked to me, which is that Reginald went and he just messaged a bunch of people and asked them, begged them, as Doublelift was doing this stuff, to say nice things about him on social media. That happened categorically. He went around and asked for it, and that's why these people were all of a sudden tweeting, who haven't even been involved in League of Legends for years at this point in time. But the problem with doing this is when somebody asks you to do this, you have to take a step back and think to yourself, well, what if there was actually something wrong, or this behavior was affecting certain people in a very negative way? Do I want to be on the hook vouching for this guy when, again, there's ample evidence that he does this to people? We know that that's true. And if you understand that that's the case and there's video evidence of it happening, how do you know what's going on within TSM, especially if you're not even part of the organization? If you are part of a different org, if you've never really been part of TSM or haven't been in a decade, like, it's really hard to go out on a limb unless you know that it's not happening. And as we can actually tell from the fact that these investigations exist, it was happening. Like, we know it was happening. Doublelift was there very recently. Lena didn't even come out and say it wasn't happening. You would think that she would be the first one to try and protect the company, especially while she was still working there for the short overlap that this thing was.
Sure, she has stock as well. She probably even has an interest actually potentially in not letting this go public. If it wasn't for the fact, spoiler, we suspect maybe she was a driving force in it going public, you know. Aside from that.
But she might have had enough of the shit too. Who knows? Like, who knows? And she just couldn't deal with it while she was there for obvious reasons. I
do appreciate, though, that what's going to happen in Ready Money, people haven't thought this through. It's not about who loves TSM in Season 3. It's not about who loves TSM in Season 7. It's not about who loves TSM in Season 10. All you need to know, fans, is at the end of history, there's going to be a list. The people who did the most damage to TSM. Now, look, me and Monte are high on the list. You know, we're gunning for that top spot. We want the legacy. We want to go out, you know, like fucking... want to go out like Wilt Chamberlain with all the records, don't we? The problem in this one is, think how mad the list's going to be, Monty. Everyone who fucked up TSM, it's going to be Lena, double lift. Like, oh, it's going to be amazing at the end. Bjergsen was essentially even on there. He only went out of his way to cut all ties, join the rival team that's been fucking him for the last like half a decade, and then even sort of was saying,
give up his equity within TSM, a company that is worth a lot of money, again, because of the Blitz app, because of their website network. He gave that up to join Team Liquid. Like, what evidence do you guys need? Like, what more could possibly exist after everybody is just fucking done with TSM after this year?
I will say, though, because I know this is where you can't help people and their naive optimism in institutions that have repeatedly failed them throughout their entire lives, Monty. The people who were actually going, well, it's all right, though, because Riot's doing an investigation into TSM. Like, that's why my joke was the banger, because I essentially stole it from like a Doug Stanhope joke, where I just said, like, I'm amazed that Riot was able to put together the remaining members of the Warren Commission, because if people don't know, that was the original government commission put together to investigate whether indeed the assassination of John F. Kennedy was actually a conspiracy. And you're not going to believe this, guys. They figured out that it was all just exactly how the official story went. And then some of them, you know, sort of died, and then some maybe in suspicious circumstances exited public life. All sorts of, you know, great stuff. So all I'm saying is, like, we know what Riot... Here's how Riot investigations go. It's a flow chart. Do they like the person, right? If the answer's no, it could be Monte Cristo. If it's no, no evidence required. Just come to the conclusion you want anyway. Spoiler, this is not a legal courtroom. We're just Riot Games putting on some sort of fucked up theatrics that we are a courtroom, investigating ourselves and our cronies. But if in fact, Monty, yes, we do like this person, then spoiler, just like when they investigated the conflict of interest between Lena, Double Lift, and Team Liquid, they could just choose to ignore primary evidence. Like, you know what? The one thing we won't investigate is their relationship, which is like, that's the basis of the conflict of interest. We know. We very much know. And at the end, we'll go in big, bold text, like the investigation found nothing, like asterisk, and then like a whole bunch of fine print, like a fucking, what do you call it? Like a David Foster Wallace novel or something down there, like fucking hell.
So there are a couple of things that give me more confidence. First off, they actually did hire an independent body this time, which is...
It was Dan Din. You're not going to believe that.
No, like an investigative law firm, which gives me hope, because as I tweeted, you know, their gaggle of Inspector Clouseaus that have just completely bungled investigations or invented evidence in my case in the past, you know, at least they're not the ones in charge of it. So that's actually a good thing. And the other
way, you do notice, like, I think they didn't some of their big names also leave TSM, as all like Lena did, like the Jerry Maguire or whatever. Like who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? Like, but she actually got a couple. It wasn't just like that one person. Yes. It wasn't just Cuba Gooding Jr. or whatever, like in the movie, was it?
So, and the second thing is that there can't be too much of a cover-up this time, because at least there is an interested third party involved in the LCS Players Association that does have new leadership as of last year. Okay. And I'm much more confident in this leadership than I am in the previous iterations of the LCSPA. There's some endemic people that are involved that I think it's probably going to turn out better, because at least there's somebody who has an interest in protecting the players who is now involved, right? It's not Riot who has an interest in protecting TSM. It's not TSM that has an interest in protecting itself. It is the LCSPA and all of the players and that the people within that kind of governing body that will be at least doing their have according to the article, you know, undergone their own like investigation, and certainly will have some sort of voice in this. So that gives me not a lot of hope, but more hope than I would have had otherwise.
You say that, but I bet in like a month there'll just be a picture on Instagram tagged with like Reginald and the head of the NLPA or whatever, like the fucking LCS Players Association just playing golf or something. Like, oh, Monte, the fix is in. Oh, they've done it again. They've done it again. No, then just, Donald Sutherland will tell you where to go for the next clue.
I think the end result of this is probably just going to be that
he's going to get a slap on the wrist, surely.
He's going to get a slap on the wrist. It's going to be something like Reginald can't interact with the League of Legends team anymore. He has to be isolated.
Wait a minute, they're going to improve his team and actually give him a chance to have like a World Championship level squad. That's hardly fair. What the fuck's that? That's like if people took over me and punished me by stop let me tweet. Oh, my career's all succeeded and shit. Why have you done that?
I mean, I think that's probably going to be the end result of this.
Of course,
if I had to guess.
It is. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to like drag him out before the crowd and fucking behead him, haven't they?
I mean, they could.
Remember, at the end of the day, people are forgetting this detail. He is their number one customer. He is the one who has bought an enormous franchise spot in their league. And spoiler, no matter what you think of Reginald, if you're the LCS, if it's dark times already with viewership, you just remove TSM or like any of their major figureheads and what makes the TSM like Spirit Esprit de Corps or whatever, it's over, isn't it? Like the LCS can't survive on just Cloud9 and Team Liquid points. Come on.
I actually think
you need TSM, unfortunately.
I actually don't think you do right now. I think that a lot of the TSM brand power was in Bjergsen, and I think this is the weakest TSM have ever been in terms of fan base. And so,
it's be like me, just seeing TS, it's like the Patriots. You got to see them lose for a few seasons.
There's still a supernatural creature. There's still a vampire. But right now, the vampire is asleep in the coffin, and you have a chance to stake it right now.
Okay.
And if dusk comes again, the vampire's going to come out. So I would just stake it while you can. That's all I'm going to say.
I will say, to be fair, TSM fans on Reddit do talk very much like in the fucking... I'm thinking, obviously, the Francis Ford Coppola's, Bram Stoker's Dracula, where they have that Tom Waits plays that character who's the ego character. The master will become... That is the TSM fan, in its true element in many ways. Imagine Reginald will confer upon them TSM immortality because they just defended Bjergsen or something like. They're a wretched bunch. There's still a lot of not there, the money. We've got to... If this is the vampire scum, we've got to absolutely stake the heart, chop the head off, silver, guard collar, everything. Yes.
But I am interested. We'll have probably another Four Horsemen, whenever the inevitable conclusion of this comes out. There has to be some sort of public announcement at some point in time because it's already leaked. And again, because I think that the Players Association's involvement is very crucial to all of this. And so, I don't know. I don't have much more to say about this till some evidence comes out. My personal take, and if you guys want to watch it, you can go check out the last episode of SI we did with Richard was on there where we discussed this. I think our collab, based on what Doublelift is saying before all of the investigation happened, I think our collective view was that it wasn't that bad. I mean, yelling at people is not the end of the fucking world, right?
I mean, I'll give you an example. One thing Richard said is he'd be very actually sort of reticent to use the term abusive because unfortunately in the modern climate, if someone just sees the headline, Reginald abusive, they're going to actually assume like sexual misconduct or something. Whereas like that was never even implied, by the way. Like nobody has, in fact, I'm also unaware of any private stories of anyone saying like that. So it's only basically being a dickhead. It's sort of like the Jat thing I told you about and the last year's thing. He wasn't beating anyone. He was just being an arsehole, and he was being an arsehole in a way that, like, unfortunately, if someone doesn't deal with it internally, the only way to do it is to sort of try and air it publicly and hope that people come in and check what are the checks and balances, who's in charge here, is someone going over the line. More behavioural, I'll say.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that people, I think unfortunately, the biggest takeaway to that article to me, which was disappointing, was that anonymous sources were saying that they felt that if they confronted it or dealt with the abusive, right, the yelling at TSM in any way, that it would affect their ability to get jobs within other esports teams because, Reggie is so close to other owners. And I think there is truth to that. And to me, that's the biggest disappointing thing, because if you're in that situation and you don't want to deal with it, you can just leave. But if you literally can't stand up for yourself because it might hurt your career prospects across the entire industry. And that's fucking lame to me. That's
here's my problem with that, Monte. Yeah, if you are Acadian, Santorin, let me think who else, maybe Biofrost, like you see the line I'm sort of making here. If you are, on the other hand, Bjergsen, Doublelift, spoiler, I'd say even people like Haunter for a while. I think you could have come out and said something if indeed you had any sort of axe to grind. And here's the problem with all those names. The only one so far who officially has done it is Doublelift. So I would say this. Doublelift, at the time some of this was going on, from salary was a millionaire. From brand, he was they used to call him the protagonist of the fucking LCS. And on top of that, I believe, I won't speak out school, he's talked about this in fact, he's inferred, like one time he told a story about how he lost, someone almost stole like $200,000 in crypto from him. Spoiler, that was like 5 years ago now. Like, where the fuck is he at now? So my point is, Doublelift, as far as I can tell, financially would not have been crippled by it. So all I'll say is this, Doublelift. It's like what I said on a different show about the whole Frostgorin claims about the LEC. Where were you, homie? How come you're the one talking now, like you're revealing new information? You were the one who actually could have outed this and could have had the least blowback. If Doublelift comes out 3 years ago, whatever it was, when he joined Team Liquid, and just says in some interview or something like, now that I'm not in TSM, especially now, I'm very concerned about, the culture that they've got in that team and the way that Reginald behaves towards people. And, I didn't want to say something while I was part of it, blah, blah, blah. You could see a million, or privately reach out to journalists, tell them the stories. Like, that's the one thing that annoys me, Monty. This does just look cynically like he got a tap on the shoulder one day from Lena, not, stop streaming, I'm about to say all this private shit, and just was told, right, now's your time to be paraded out and tell, yes, the truth, but finally the truth. Like, what? Because that was the thing I didn't like about this, Monty. I joked about fans acting like this was like new information. Doublelift acted like this was sort of new information. Like, he acted as though he was some brave person coming forward. Like, mate, you could have done this any time. Like, what is this? Because that's the problem. Like I say, come on, surely we're not going to pretend Bjergsen and Doublelift get like blacklisted from the LCS. And they can't even join Gold again. Get out my face. They would have been still in Team Liquid and whatnot, and of course they would.
Thorin, the most egregious thing about this is that there are literally people who were working in the LCS when this was going on, who had management positions, who are still working in the LCS, and this investigation never happened over the years. Guys, it's not new people. There are many of the same people. And so to me, that's the most fucked up part, is that these people have ignored this for years and years and years and years, and now it's a problem. And like that standard at Riot should tell you everything you need to know about the company.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.